Hey everybody, Qroo here. Welcome to the channel. You know, one mistake that I often hear English speakers who are learning Spanish make is that they want to use the gerund after a preposition in Spanish. Now, for folks who don't know what a gerund is, that's basically the verb with the ing ending. Here's some examples in English. He wants to change before going to the party. He decided to quit his job after talking to his boss. He's tired of hearing her excuses. He wants to stay home instead of going to the beach. You see, in all of those we have a preposition and it's followed by a verb in the gerund. That's the one with the ing ending. That's what we do in English, right? Those all sound correct. And the reason is because that's the rule or the pattern in English, right? The gerund follows prepositions. So that's what we're used to. For that reason, it makes sense that us English speakers would try to mirror the same pattern when translating into Spanish. And that's why you'll hear things like this. Antes de comiendo. Before eating. It's completely incorrect, all right? Don't even write that one down. Unlike English, Spanish never uses the gerund after a preposition. Never. Write that down. Nunca. Instead, Spanish will use the infinitive or the unconjugated form of the verb. Let's take a look at the sentences we had up there when we started, okay? He wants to change before going to the party. That should be quiere cambiarse antes de ir a la fiesta. See, it's antes de ir, the infinitive. He decided to quit his job after talking to his boss. That's our preposition, after, right? Decidió dejar su trabajo después de hablar con su jefe. Another verb for to quit something is renunciar, to renounce, right? And it's going to be used with the preposition a. So on your word list, you should have renunciar a, to quit something. So if we plug that in here, we'd get decidió renunciar a su trabajo después de hablar con su jefe. Next one. He's tired of hearing her excuses. Está harto de escuchar sus excusas or sus pretextos. You can use excusa or pretexto. Pretext, excuse, they both sound very similar to English, don't they? The important thing there is we're still using the infinitive after that day, right? And the last one, he wants to stay home instead of going to the beach. Quiere quedarse en casa en vez de ir a la playa, or you could have en lugar de ir a la playa. Those both mean instead of. So isn't that easier? You don't have to do anything with the verb, right? It's just taking the infinitive and just dropping it in. In videos like this one, I often include some exercises for you to do to practice whatever I'm talking about that day. The problem with that is that, you know, the viewers are at all different skill levels, and that can sometimes cause those folks who are more at the beginner end to get kind of discouraged if they don't know some of the other vocabulary I'm using in the exercises, because I didn't cover that in that particular lesson. Try not to get discouraged by what you don't know yet. Learning a language is a journey, and it's not a sprint, okay? This is a marathon that you're in. You know, focus on how much you've already learned at this point, not how far you have to go. And when it comes to the videos, the most important thing is that you understand that particular concept or phrase or construction that I'm covering in that video, all right? That goal is, you know, you're going to be able to take that, put it in your Spanish toolbox, and then start using it. All right, so let's do some exercises. Even if you don't know the vocabulary used, it may be helpful for you to add some of these constructions to your word list, right? Maybe you learned something else, I'm just saying. Here's our first one. Maria insists on getting up early every day. I want to write them down. Maybe it'll help. All right, you ready? There's a few ways we can translate this, and we're going to talk about them so you can add some stuff to your word lists. María insiste en madrugar todos los días. In this one, we're using the verb madrugar, which means to get up early. Another way to say this could be to use levantarse temprano. María insiste en levantarse temprano todos los días. Anytime I use the verb levantarse for to get up, someone will inevitably ask me in the comments, I thought like waking up was despertar or despertarse. That's the waking up part. Just because you woke up doesn't mean you're actually getting out of bed. The getting up part is going to be levantarse. Here's another useful one for your word list, and it is insistir en plus infinitive, to insist on doing something. Really super useful. Now, if you insist on someone else doing something, you're going to get into insistir en que plus the subjunctive, and that gets a lot more complex. But if you're just insisting on doing something, like the subject doesn't change, then insistir en plus infinitive. You can play with that one a little bit. All right, here's your next one. Go ahead and translate this. Juan complains about working weekends. I don't know how much time you need on that one. All right, I think we got it. Juan se queja de trabajar los fines de semana. Juan se queja de trabajar los fines de semana. Did you get that? That's using the verb quejarse, which means to complain about something. On your word list, go ahead and include that preposition and write quejarse de, to complain about something. All right, here's our next one. Go ahead and translate this. The children wash the car before going to the park. All right, ready? Los niños lavaron el coche antes de ir al parque. Los niños lavaron el coche antes de ir al parque. Did you get that one? Not too tough, right? So we have antes de ir, before going, right? We didn't put antes de yendo or something like that. You're seeing the pattern, right? One more. Julio got sad upon hearing the news. That upon might throw you off, but not if you saw my video about that particular translation. Then you shouldn't have any trouble. All right, let's see what you got. There's a couple different ways you could have translated this. You might have used the verb entristecerse, which means to get sad. But chances are you didn't, because I don't know too many English speakers learning Spanish who would choose to use that verb in there. Not that they don't know what it means, it's just kind of long. It's a little bit of a tongue twister. Julio se entristeció al escuchar la noticia. See, it's kind of a tongue twister. Se entristeció. You know what's a lot easier than that? To just use another construction I've talked about, which is ponerse plus the emotion. So you'd get something like, Julio se puso triste al escuchar la noticia. Wow, that was a lot easier to say. Let's talk about that upon part, all right? That is al plus the infinitive. That means upon doing something or after doing something. It's in the middle of the sentence here, but it's a fantastic sentence starter as well. Like, al llegar a casa, me di cuenta de que la puerta estaba abierta. Upon arriving at the house, I noticed that the door was open. I like this one a lot. Well, that's the end of the lesson. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully you won't be sticking the gerund after Spanish prepositions anymore. If you were, I'm not accusing you or anything. I'm just kind of throwing it out there. And hopefully you picked up some new vocabulary and constructions from those examples too. There was some useful stuff in there. Well, that's it for today. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, and until next time, hasta luego.